Good morning everyone and welcome to this presentation. My name is Luca Mannella and I'm a member of the Light Research Group from Politecnico di Torino. Today I'm going to present you the paper A Threat Model for Extensible Smart Home Gateways. So, let's start with the outline of this presentation. After a quick introduction, I will introduce you a reference smart home architecture used to design the model. Then I will present you the threat model proposed in this paper, and I will give you some details about the proofs of concept developed to exploit some of the presented threats. In the end, we will conclude the presentation with some insights about future work. So, according to recent research, smart home systems are in a dangerous situation. Indeed, in a paper presented at Usenix a couple of years ago, the researcher discovered that at least 40% houses worldwide have an IoT device, and this number grew to the 70% considering only the United States. Furthermore, in 62% of involved houses, at least one device has a known vulnerability. In addition, it is well known that a compromised device could affect other smart home devices. So, if we consider that to manage a lot of smart home devices, smart home gateways are often involved, and that even that such solutions are often extensible, and we know that extending something developed by a third party is never an easy task, we can conclude that an IoT gateway compromised is a device particularly critical. So, for this reason, our goal is to support programmers during the development or the evaluation of plugins for Smart Home Gateway, proposing a threat model with a twofold purpose. From one side, this model helps to understand some possible issues that could be generated from a malicious or a defective plugin, and on the other side, the model could be regarded as a set of guidelines for the programmers. So, before presenting you the model, it is necessary to discuss a little bit the reference architecture and the possible attack targets. So, in a traditional smart home architecture with IoT device, a smart home gateway with eventually other application installed on it, we can conclude that possible attack targets are devices belonging to the smart home, other plugins in the smart home gateway, the smart home gateway application itself, or the gateway operating system, and if the device is not a special purpose device, even other application running on the gateway. So let's now have a look to the proposed threat model. We have 11 threats in this model, labeled with a letter T and a digit, and I want to specify that the model considers menaces originated only from a plugin. In addition, the model sometimes mention the plugin scope, which is the set of variables, files, or resources that the plugin can legitimately access. With a legitimate access, we mean that the accessed resources must be declared in the plugin documentation, and that the resources must be accessed through the modalities advised by the platform, for instance, using APIs. So we divide the threats according to some categories. Starting from confidentiality, we have that a plugin could access and use or access and spread private data of other attack targets. In other words, it accesses data outside its scope. Then we have some integrity threats that are threats that compromise the integrity of an attack target without impacting its availability. So we have that a plugin could alter the state of other smart home devices outside its scope, for example, turning on a lamp out of its scope. And then we have that a plugin could alter private data of other attack target outside its scope, for instance, changing variable outside its scope like a measured temperature. Then we have some availability threats that in order of severity are: the first one, a plugin could delay the regular functionality of an attack target. Then we have that a plugin could alter one of the regular functionalities of an attack target. For instance, the user is still able to turn on or off a lamp, even if the integration is compromised, but power consumption data are not forwarded anymore. Then we have that a plugin could alter the regular functionality of an attack target, preventing the user from using it. And this threat implies two different scenarios. In the first one, no one has control over the attack target, for instance, through a gateway resource saturation. And the other scenario is that there is a third party able to replace the user in controlling the attack target. Then, to conclude, T8 said that a plugin could physically damage an attack target, for example, through a repeated activation of a specific light until it burns out. Then we have an authentication threat that say that a plugin could interact with an attack target pretending to be a different entity. We have an authorization threat in which a plugin could access an authorization level higher than expected. And then we have an non-repudiation threat in which a plugin could anonymously communicate with an attack target. So there is no way to know that the plugin established a specific communication. So after creating this model, we developed a number of proofs of concept to exploit some of the presented threats. Our use case specifically is based on Home Assistant, also called simply HAS, which is an open source smart home gateway software developed since 2013 with more than 150,000 active installations. But according to the fact that public analytics that analytics are not enabled by default, the team estimates that this number could be fourfold. Home Assistant has 4 different types of release, with additional features with respect to the core version, and it is extensible through 2 different kinds of plugins, which are integrations and add-ons. Specifically, we focus our use case on integrations because they are available in all Home Assistant releases and they are closer to traditional plugins concept. Indeed, Home Assistant add-ons are basically Docker containers executed and managed by Home Assistant. Among the previously presented attack targets, for reasons of simplicity, the presented proofs of concept attack only other integration. So from one side, we have one target integration called switch target that has 2 states, on and off, and contains a secret value that should be accessible only by the integration itself. On the other side, we have 2 malicious integration designed for managing lights. They have 2 states, on and off, and a brightness value, but they have additional malicious side effect. Indeed, both these malicious integrations are able to modify the status or the private data of the switch target, which is an integration outside their scope. Both integration, to have access to the switch target, retrieve a reference to it from the Python's garbage collector. For reasons of brevity, in the paper we addressed 8 threats out of 11, and this table summarizes which threats are exploited in the developed integration. So, starting from the light altering state, we have that when the light is turned on, it accesses and retrieves the secret from the switch target. And this behavior could lead to T1 or T2 according to the malicious developer's behavior. Indeed, for example, if the secret is an access token, the integration could use it directly to have access to a resource. Or if the secret is a password, maybe this information could be sent to a remote server and used by a different entity. Then, when the light is turned off, the integration modifies the secret stored in the switch target. And this led to an integrity threat because it is altering private data of the switch target, but could lead also to T6 because, again, if the secret is an access token used to notify a light state to an external service, through changing it, the integration compromises a functionality of the switch. Then we have the light altering state, which has and it has a malicious effect that is triggered every time a user turns on or off this light. And specifically, this malicious side effect is that the state of the switch target is toggled. This creates 4 different threats because it altered the state of the switch target. It altered the regular functionality of the switch target because it partially prevents the user to use the switch target as he or she desires. Then, considering that the method for changing the switch state is called directly by its Python class, we are interacting with the switch target as the original integration. And in addition, the interaction is anonymous. There is no way to know which integration has triggered this change. So we are coming to the end of this presentation, and to sum up, we can say that we proposed a threat model with a twofold purpose. From one side, it helps developers to understand security issues that could be generated from a plugin, and consequently, it could help programmers think about possible countermeasures. On the other side, the model could be regarded as a set of guidelines. Indeed, plugin developers should not create plugins acting like the reported threats. Then we exploit some threats through a couple of proof of concept. To conclude, we would like to give some suggestions to Home Assistant. The first one is that Home Assistant need more isolation among its components, for sure. And then we suggest to Home Assistant to introduce a permission system. Indeed, we did not exploit T10, a plugin could access an authorization level higher than expected, because each integration can do basically whatever it wants. There is no permission. About future work, we are creating proofs of concept addressing other attack targets. We are interested also in analyzing public available Home Assistant plugins, looking for the presented threat, because we want to understand if developer can accidentally fall into the presented issue. And the final purpose of this research activity is to provide best practices and or tools for developing more reliable smart home system. So that's all from my side. I would like to thank you for your kind attention, and if you have any kind of question, feel free to contact us.